Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me is Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains.
Hello.
So, what we do on this podcast every week is we go through the biggest stories in XR from the previous week and have a little chat about them and what they might mean to the industry at large. As always, if you yourself have any stories you'd like to be discussed on this podcast, or if you'd like to join us sometime, please do reach out. All the ways to contact us are going to be listed in the link below. I say this every week. I'm sure Peter uploads this. I'm sure he does put some links in, but I don't know what links. But there are millions of ways to contact us. So please do reach out anytime if you want to chat about these or any other stories or any of your stories in XR. But we're going to dive in, as we always do, with some hardware news. And it seems lately, as we do every week, with some Quest 3S rumors, leaks.
Indeed, isn't it, Kev? There's always a leak. There's been pictures and all sorts. We've not had any lots of specs, but we have had a price. This was by way of an early ad showing on Peacock from all the rumors, and the Quest 3S was priced at $299.99, so $300.
So this seems pretty legit. I have watched this advert, and I assume you have too, Peter. And it does look legit. 299. What do you think about the price?
I think that's all right. 128 gigs. That seems fairly standard. So yeah, I think we're in the right ballpark.
If I'm honest, I was hoping for 250. I know that might seem ridiculous, but this is obviously launching in a holiday season for a specific reason. It's trying to capture that this is the Christmas present, the holiday present market, and 299 places it squarely against a Series S and still more expensive than a Switch. I personally was hoping for 250, so it comes in as that entry level option for this holiday season. I know that may seem ridiculous to some people watching this, but yeah, that was what my hope. I still think 299 is a great price, but I think that just that undercutting that Switch would have been lovely.
Or maybe halfway, like how they like to do like 279, something like
Or
that.
279 would have been the same price as the Switch. The key thing in my mind is this is not coming in essential. This is going to sound weird. Bear with me. This is not coming in as a VR device. This is coming in as a games console. That's what the Quest 3S is, in my opinion. It is obviously a VR device, but that's not the market they're pitching to. They're pitching to gamers, and they're pitching specifically to budget-conscious younger gamers, in which case you're going up against the budget-conscious devices that are out there. The PS5 is not a budget-conscious device. The PS5 Pro is not a budget-conscious device. The Series X is not a budget-conscious device. The Series S and the Nintendo Switch are the budget-conscious devices. And in that realm, it is at the higher level. That's my perspective.
Very good perspective, Kev. Very good.
Thank you. But we don't obviously know. It may come with packing games and whatever else, so that might alleviate that a little bit. But yeah, still 299 I think is a reasonable price, but I think they could have gone a little bit harder.
Well, we'll find out all the details in a couple of days, won't we?
Couple of days. If you're going to MetaConnect, let us know. It looks like it could be interesting this year. So moving on, we have more hardware news, this time from our old buddies at Vive.
Yay, go HTC Vive. So those guys announced the Vive Focus Vision, their new standalone mixed reality headset that is essentially an upgrade from 2021's Vive Focus 3.
So full disclosure at this point, Tiny Brains does have a client that is involved with this launch. Please continue.
Thank you very much. So it's essentially a business headset, really, isn't it? And for pro consumers, because the Vive are trying to go, down the gaming route with this one a bit more than the original Focus 3. So it's $1,000, so it ain't cheap. You're gonna be
That's $1,000 for Americans out there.
Thank you. Pre-orders launched last week, and the official launch is going to take place sometime in October. I think the pre-orders end around the sort of 10th, right around that sort of date. So yes, it is going to be more gamer focused. So you'll be able to connect it to your Steam account and play your Steam VR games. So
I haven't tried this headset yet, but I think it looks nice. I think it looks like, I mean, from what I can tell, it's quite bulky. It's quite heavy, but it does look like the replacement essentially to the index that we've been wanting. That's the market, the audience that's coming in for me at, from my perspective. Obviously, the enterprise side is different, but in terms of the pro-consumer or prosumer, as you said, Pete, that's where it slots into the market for me.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it comes in just under Vive's XR Elite headsets, both of which they both do mixed reality, and this new one also does it. Well, it has a few less features, but it does do eye tracking. So it's one of those things where, are you going to then lose sales for your pricier headset for this one? It seems, for me, it seems a little bit weird.
I think this is moving on.
Mm.
I don't think they're going to discontinue their other headsets immediately, but I think it will come. This is an effort for migration rather than an effort to create a new pillar.
There's also the fact that because it isn't essentially like an upgrade to the Focus 3, it uses the same controllers, it uses the same Fresnel optics, and the same resolution LCD displays that the 2021 headset used. So they're kind of, is it stagnating a bit because they're not utilizing the latest technology? They're not doing pancake lenses anymore, or people are using pancake lenses, whereas Vive is still sticking with Fresnel.
What do you think about the Vive Focus Vision? Does seem to be quite significant debate about this headset. Vive obviously used to rule the roost in VR, and I'm not going to say they seem like they're struggling, but they seem like they've lost a bit of their footing. And we all want Vive to do the right thing and make a comeback here because they changed the industry. They accelerated VR very rapidly, very early on. So we'd love to see them do that again.
Definitely.
Sticking with hardware, we have the Snap. Are they still called Snapticles? I don't think they are. They're Snap Spectacles now, right?
They are indeed. The
Used to be
Snap
called
Spectacles 5. Yeah. So we knew these were coming. They'd been sort of rumored for the last month or so. And yes, they've revealed their latest AR headset. So, they look rather large and chunky and rather funky. They've got
large and in charge.
got 4 tracking cameras, a new optical system designed in-house, a new OS system. They do only have 45 minutes of battery life though, so you're not going to be using them for too long. But hey ho, we'll see how these are welcomed by the market. These are only available for developers as well. You can only order them if you're part of Snap's developer program, and they are $99 a month.
So I see this as baby steps. I see this as the direction that we should be going in for AR. Excuse me. But it is a small step in that direction. Any how do you see them, Pete?
I think we have broached this subject on numerous occasions, and it's one of those steps that needs to be taken, like we'll see from Meta, like we'll see from several other hardware manufacturers. They ain't going to look pretty to start off with. They are still going to be bulky as they fit in processors and batteries and things like that. But again, it's a necessary step, isn't it? This is the 5th iteration for their spectacles, and so they are getting better as we go down the line. Whether we'll get to a form factor which will be consumer friendly anytime soon, I don't know. Maybe.
So there we have it. 3 hardware stories today, and one of them we are completely aligned on. Debate is good. Moving on, we have some software news, and this one is quite interesting. Godot, depending on which part of the world you're from, is now available in headset on a Quest.
I know. Meta essentially teamed up with some of the veteran Godot developers and got it ported using OpenXR. So then you can now, on a Quest 3 and a Quest Pro, you can download the free open source software and develop your own games. It's essentially an alternative to Unity and Unreal. So if you like making games, and it means you can develop a full game in VR, whether it's a flat screen game or a VR game.
It's interesting. So I remember back in the day, back in my youth, in VR, when both Unreal and Unity were making efforts to do in headset building programs. and they both fell to the wayside. It's been years since I've checked in on them, so I don't know if anything ever actually came from this. But I personally had tried these on several occasions inside a Vive headset and building objects and placing them in the world and creating maps and creating rule sets and so on. And I think it's great. But this is not a WYSIWYG editor. This is an engine inside the headset, so you do need to know how to program in the application. There is also the question of like a Bluetooth keyboard, something like that, to make it easier. Is it compatible with the whole Logitech keyboard thing? I don't know. But if you are a developer and you do use this platform and you have experimented with Quest 3, please let me know. I'd love to know more about this. Do you see it as a worthwhile effort, and will you use it?
Well, it's impressive that they managed to get it onto the Quest 3 in the first place. Really, it's not Quest 2 compatible because it doesn't have enough RAM. But it'd be nice.
Supposedly it's less than 200 megabytes, which is nice.
Yeah. Very nice to see. We might see a few more indie games. Indie developers trying their hand at in VR development. So
I think we have a lot of indie developers in VR already. So
more the merrier.
More the merrier. And wrapping up this week, as we always do, we have some gaming news. Thrill of the Fight 2. What's going on with this, Pete?
Well, I think a lot of VR veterans will be happy to hear that Thrill of the Fight 2 is coming out this November, early access for MetaQuest. Now, if you do remember, the original Thrill of the Fight came out in 2016, and it was very much an indie title at the time. It was offered basic boxing, but it was very realistic. It was a boxing simulator, and it became a cult classic. It's still loved to this day, pretty much. If you love boxing games, then it's a great game to dive into. But now we get the sequel, well, the early access sequel, later this year in a couple of months. And the key difference between the two is that the new one has online multiplayer, so you can beat your friends up.
I think you've summed this up pretty nicely. I was going to say that this is considered a cult classic. This is super popular, but Pete's laid it all out there. Fans of Thrill of the Fight, you're going to be excited. You're going to be thrilled by this new release, and it's also an opportunity for people who've never experienced it before to get into it for the first time. So good stuff, all good stuff.
Yeah, we can't wait for this one.
So that wraps up the podcast for this week. If you've enjoyed this, please let us know by giving us a like or a thumbs up or a subscribe or any of those kind of things. And as I said at the start, if you want anything that you're working on to be discussed on this podcast, please do reach out. You can contact us in a million different places. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next week.